Hey everyone, welcome to Anime Dreams. Today's fanfic topic is, what if Naruko became an ANBU captain? Part 2. Disclaimer, this channel is dedicated to entertainment and discussion. I do not own any anime footage featured in this video, all rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Without further ado, let's dive in. It had been a month since Naruko awakened her Sharingan. Significant changes had taken place within the village, and the aftermath of the Uchiha clan's tragedy still loomed heavily. The entire clan had been wiped out by Itachi Uchiha, leaving the village in shock. The only known survivor of the incident was Sasuke Uchiha, whose emotional well-being had been deeply affected. In response to the crisis, Hiruzen Sarutobi implemented martial law and reinforced security measures throughout the village. With the backing of the Fire Daimyo, he assumed full authority over both the shinobi and civilian affairs, overruling the council in the process. His decision was met with resistance from the civilian council and certain elders who demanded that their influence be restored. However, Hiruzen remained steadfast, asserting that the Hokage's role was to lead, while the council's function was purely advisory. By addressing corruption within the council and taking firm action against those who sought to undermine stability, he was able to regain control. The Shinobi Council supported his leadership, but Hiruzen remained wary, especially of Danzo, who, unusually, did not oppose his decisions. This uncharacteristic silence troubled him deeply, leaving him to wonder what Danzo was planning. Ever since an incident involving Danzo's personal operatives targeting Naruko, Hiruzen had taken steps to curtail Danzo's influence. Although he could not risk a direct confrontation that might destabilize the village, he ensured Danzo's personal forces were significantly reduced. Danzo denied any involvement, claiming that the individuals had acted independently. However, Hiruzen issued a firm warning, making it clear that any further misconduct would result in severe consequences. Danzo backed down for the time being, but Hiruzen remained cautious. Despite the growing tensions, what concerned Hiruzen the most was Naruko herself. Ever since she awakened the Sharingan, her demeanor had shifted. She became more reserved, only truly opening up to those she deeply trusted. Kakashi and Hiruzen decided to give her time to process everything. After all, despite her aspirations as a shinobi, she was still just a 6-year-old child navigating overwhelming circumstances. Hiruzen vividly recalled the conversation in which they explained the Sharingan to Naruko. It had taken place just days after the Uchiha tragedy, and her questions had surprised him. She exhibited a level of understanding far beyond what one would expect from someone her age. Flashback, a few days earlier. Naruko stood in the Hokage's office, her expression thoughtful. It had been a few days since the life-altering events she had experienced. Kakashi had given her a break from training, allowing her time to spend with her friends. However, a lingering question had been bothering her, and she decided to seek answers from Hiruzen. "What can I do for you, Naruko?" Hiruzen asked warmly. "Gigi, I wanted to ask you something," she said politely. "Go ahead," he encouraged, though he had an idea of what she might inquire about. "Gigi, how was I able to dodge that attack from the ANBU? I wasn't fast enough to match them. One moment, I thought I was going to lose, but suddenly, everything seemed to slow down. There was a sharp pain in my eyes, and then I could somehow see the ANBU's movements before they even made them." "I don't understand," Naruko admitted, confusion evident in her voice. Hiruzen sighed, his expression turning serious. "Naruko, what I am about to tell you is a closely guarded secret. You must not share this information unless absolutely necessary. Do you understand?" "Hi," Naruko responded sincerely, ready to hear the truth. Hiruzen retrieved a small mirror from one of his desk drawers and gestured for Naruko to come closer. "Naruko, I want you to focus your chakra into your eyes," he instructed seriously. Naruko followed his directions, and as she gazed into the mirror, she was stunned. Her usual blue eyes had changed, now a deep red, with 2 black tomoe circling within them. "Gigi, is this the Sharingan? Like Nissan's?" she asked in disbelief. Hiruzen nodded. "Yes, Naruko, this is the Sharingan. Naruko's expression fell slightly. So, I'm an Uchiha? She murmured, feeling a mix of emotions. The entire clan had been lost, leaving her without a family she never truly knew. While she never had a strong connection to the Uchiha, they were still part of her heritage. Not exactly, Hiruzen clarified. Yes, you have Uchiha blood, but there's more to your family history that I'll explain when you're older. Are you all right, Naruko? He asked with concern. I think so, she replied quietly. Are you upset with me for not telling you sooner? Hiruzen asked gently. Naruko shook her head. The Uchiha never really liked me much, so I guess we're even. And I understand you had your reasons, she said softly. Do you feel sad for them, knowing they were part of your family? Hiruzen inquired curiously. A little. But they were always distant toward me, so I don't really know how to feel. I feel sorry that they're gone, but I never knew them, so it's hard to process, Naruko admitted, her voice tired. I understand, Hiruzen said kindly. I'll tell you more about your parents when the time is right. Is that all right with you? I think so, Naruko replied. There's already a lot happening in my life. As much as I want to know, I don't think I'm ready for another big revelation just yet. Hiruzen smiled warmly. You're wise beyond your years, Naruko. Naruko looked away, slightly embarrassed by the compliment. Then, as if the thought had just struck her, she suddenly asked, Gigi. Were my parents good people? Her question caught Hiruzen off guard. No, Naruko, they were among the finest individuals I have ever known. They cherished you with all their heart. They were proud shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, who gave their lives to protect the village, Hiruzen said sincerely. Gigi, what does the village truly mean? What defines a true shinobi? Naruko asked, her voice laced with curiosity and longing. She needed to understand why her parents had sacrificed themselves for the village, leaving her alone in a world that often felt unkind. Hiruzen was taken aback by Naruko's question. It reminded him of the wisdom passed down by the first and second Hokage regarding leadership and responsibility. He understood that his response would shape Naruko's perspective and future. He had once failed to guide Orochimaru down the right path, and he was determined not to repeat that mistake. A village is more than just buildings and walls, it is a place where people come together, setting aside their past differences to create harmony. It is where the young grow, the elderly find peace, and families support one another. It is meant to be a sanctuary, a home where people can live without fear, Hiruzen explained thoughtfully. Naruko clenched her fists. Then what is the duty of a shinobi? Does being a shinobi mean abandoning your child? Leaving them to face hardships alone? Isn't it a parent's duty to protect and care for their child? How can someone call themselves a parent if they leave their child behind like that? She cried, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. Hiruzen rose from his seat and walked toward Naruko. Gently placing a hand on her head, he lifted her chin with his other hand so she could meet his gaze. In her striking eyes, he saw sorrow, longing, and the weight of unanswered questions. He knew he needed to help her find peace. Naruko, let's take a walk. Hold my hand tightly, Hiruzen said with quiet resolve, grasping her small hand before vanishing from his office in a blur. When Naruko opened her eyes, she found herself standing atop the Yondaime's monument. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the village. The sight was breathtaking. It's beautiful, isn't it? Hiruzen asked with a kind smile. Yeah, Naruko murmured, a small smile gracing her lips. The village is not just made of stone and mortar, Naruko. It is built by its people. Tell me, when you look at them, what do you see? Hiruzen asked, his tone encouraging. Naruko gazed down at the village. She saw children laughing as they played, families sharing meals in restaurants, and friends chatting cheerfully in the streets. The sight warmed her heart, yet a tinge of sadness lingered within her. They look happy and at peace, she admitted softly. But it also makes me realize I might never have that kind of happiness. That's not true, Naruko, Hiruzen reassured her gently. Yes, losing your parents was a tragic and painful experience, but you are not alone. There are others in this village who care about you, Kakashi, Tuchi-san, Ayame-chan, and your friends. Aren't we like family to you? Doesn't that count for something? Naruko wiped her eyes and nodded. You're right, Gigi. I let my emotions get the better of me. I do have all of you, and I don't know what I'd do without you, she said with a grateful smile behind her mask. Hiruzen chuckled warmly. I understand, child. Now, come along, there's another place I want to show you, he said, extending his hand once more before they vanished in a flash. They reappeared in a peaceful clearing surrounded by towering trees. At the center stood a large stone monument, solemn yet dignified. Hiruzen led Naruko toward it. Gigi, what is this place? She asked curiously. This is where we honor the heroes of the Hidden Leaf Village, Hiruzen said, his voice tinged with quiet reverence. Heroes? Naruko echoed, tilting her head in confusion. Hiruzen nodded. Do you see this stone? He asked, and Naruko gave a small nod in response. Every name inscribed here belongs to a shinobi who sacrificed their life to protect the village, he explained solemnly. Naruko's breath hitched. Are my parents' names here? She asked hesitantly. Yes, Hiruzen confirmed. Naruko's hands tightened into fists. Gigi, can you at least tell me their names? Please? She pleaded, looking up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. Hiruzen sighed, inwardly marveling at how persuasive she could be. All right, he conceded. But for now, I will only tell you your mother's name. I'll share your father's identity another time. Naruko pouted slightly but accepted his offer. She had long yearned to know at least one of their names, and today, she would finally have an answer. Okay, Gigi, she said, her eyes shining with anticipation. Her name was Kushina, Hiruzen said with a somber expression, reminiscing about the times he had spent with her and Minato. Naruko stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the stone monument. As she approached, her hands trembled and then came to a halt. Her eyes landed on a name that meant the world to her. The one person she had longed for but never had the chance to know, her mother. She had often wondered what it would be like to have a mother's love. She had seen her friends surrounded by their mother's warmth and kindness, and each time, a pang of sorrow struck her heart. How she wished her mother were still here. How she yearned for the love and comfort only a mother could provide. Kushina Uzumaki. Ka-chan, Naruko whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. Hiruzen placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder and waited in silence, giving her the space to release the emotions she had carried for so long. Naruko let her tears flow freely for a few moments before she gradually composed herself. Naruko, within every shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village burns the will of fire, Hiruzen said gently. The will of fire? Naruko repeated softly, her curiosity piqued. It is the unbreakable bond that connects every shinobi in our village. It fuels our strength and determination to protect our home. A true shinobi endures challenges and hardships to safeguard what is most precious to them. That is the essence of the will of fire, Hiruzen explained with warmth in his voice. The will of fire shone brightly within your parents. Imagine if they, along with many other brave shinobi, had not made sacrifices, our village might not exist as it does today. The peace we cherish, the happiness of the people, all of it stands on the courage and dedication of those who came before us. The path of a shinobi is one of perseverance, selflessness, and strength. Naruko listened intently, absorbing every word. Do you think I can become a good shinobi? She asked with hopeful eyes. Hiruzen smiled before responding. First, tell me, what is most precious to you? Naruko thought for a moment before answering with certainty. My family, my friends, and my village. Even if some villagers don't like me, this is my home. This is the village my parents gave their lives for. I will honor their sacrifice and protect it. But, do you think the people will ever accept me? She asked, her voice tinged with hope. Hiruzen's eyes softened. The will of fire burns brightly within you, Naruko. And yes, I truly believe that one day, the people will recognize your strength and kindness. I have faith in you. Naruko's face lit up with determination. Arigato, Gigi. I'll follow my own path, fulfill my dream, and protect the village. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Hiruzen in a heartfelt hug, which he returned warmly. I have no doubt that you will, he said with a smile. Now, would you like Kakashi to train you in using the Sharingan? Hi. Naruko replied excitedly. Very well. I'll arrange for Kakashi to begin training you tomorrow. Do your best. For now, go enjoy some time with your friends, Hiruzen said with a chuckle. Hi. Naruko said cheerfully before running off. Once she was gone, a voice emerged from the trees. That went better than expected, Sandaime-sama, Kakashi remarked, closing his book with a slight smile. Hiruzen exhaled in relief. Yes, but we narrowly avoided a major issue today, Kakashi. Kakashi's expression turned serious. Even I was caught off guard by her questions. Hiruzen nodded. Indeed. If not for the wisdom of the first and second Hokage, I'm not sure how things would have unfolded. Kakashi looked puzzled. What do you mean, Hokage-sama? As you know, an Uchiha awakens their Sharingan when experiencing strong emotions, distress, or in life-threatening situations, Hiruzen explained. Kakashi's expression darkened as memories of his late friend, Obito, surfaced. But when someone activates the Sharingan, it brings about a profound change, Hiruzen continued, his tone grave. Kakashi furrowed his brow. I don't quite understand, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen's expression grew thoughtful as he prepared to explain further. The Nidaime once explained to me that the Uchiha clan had a unique way of suppressing their emotions. When they awaken the Sharingan, all of those buried emotions resurface with it. For those who desire power, the Sharingan enhances their strength but also inflates their ego, making them feel invincible. Those who have endured deep sorrow or hardship may develop resentment toward the world. For individuals who have suppressed their love, their affection for a person or cause becomes overwhelmingly intense. And for someone like Naruko, who is still discovering herself, this transformation could go in two directions, either guiding her toward the right path or leading her into darkness. I refuse to let that happen. She is like a granddaughter to me. The depth of an Uchiha's love surpasses even that of the Senju, Hiruzen said, leaving Kakashi astonished. But how exactly does this relate to Naruko? Kakashi asked, curiosity evident in his tone. Hiruzen sighed before continuing. As time passes, an Uchiha's Sharingan evolves, and so do their emotions. Many have lost themselves to this overwhelming power. The Nidaime once described the Sharingan as the eye that reflects the heart. When I looked into Naruko's eyes today, I saw pain, sadness, and betrayal. If those emotions were allowed to fester, can you imagine what could have happened? Kakashi's expression darkened as realization struck him. She could have turned against the village, blaming everyone for her suffering. And with both the Sharingan and the Kyuubi sealed within her, she might have become another Madara. Hiruzen nodded gravely. Exactly. Hashirama-sama once told me that Madara's descent into madness stemmed from his overwhelming love for his younger brother. That love, when twisted by grief and despair, led him down a dangerous path. Hashirama always believed that the best way to guide the Uchiha was through kindness and understanding. I failed in that duty once, but I refuse to let it happen again with Naruko. I've tried reaching out to Sasuke, but the trauma he has endured runs deep. He isn't ready to talk yet, but I hope, in time, he will heal. Kakashi absorbed Hiruzen's words, understanding the weight of his regrets. He, too, carried his own burdens regarding the Uchiha clan's downfall. I need to be careful with Naruko, Kakashi thought, his determination solidifying. But I will train her, not just to be a skilled shinobi, but to be someone who chooses the right path. The next day, Naruko and Kakashi stood in Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. It was an isolated location, making it ideal for training, especially when it came to practicing the Sharingan, as few people ventured into the area. Unlike usual, Kakashi was not reading his book. His posture was serious, and Naruko mirrored his focus, ready to begin. After speaking with the Hokage, Kakashi's resolve had strengthened, and his goals had become clearer than ever. "Alright, Naruko," Kakashi began. "Since you've already mastered chakra control exercises and the basics of taijutsu, I believe you're ready to start learning ninjutsu and how to properly wield your Sharingan. Are you up for the challenge?" "Hi, Ni-san." Naruko responded eagerly. Kakashi smiled at her enthusiasm. Normally, shinobi your age wouldn't start learning ninjutsu so soon. However, given that there are individuals in the village who may not have your best interests at heart, you need to be able to defend yourself. That's why I'm making an exception. Naruko nodded in understanding, her expression serious. "But before we dive into ninjutsu, I want to teach you more about your Sharingan," Kakashi said as he lifted his headband, revealing his own Sharingan eye. "Ni-san, what exactly are the abilities of the Sharingan?" Naruko asked curiously. Kakashi gave her an approving nod. "Good question. But first, activate your Sharingan and tell me what you see." Naruko focused, channeling chakra into her eyes. Instantly, a two-tomoe Sharingan appeared. "Ni-san, I can see the flow of chakra in your body. Also, when that ANBU attacked me before, I could anticipate his movements before he even made them." "That's all I know so far," she admitted. Kakashi observed her carefully, pleased by her awareness. "That's a good start, Naruko. Now, let's take your abilities to the next level." And so, their training began in earnest. Naruko listened intently as Kakashi explained, completely fascinated by the abilities granted by the Sharingan. "So, I can replicate any ninjutsu, genjutsu, or taijutsu style? That's incredible," she said with a confident smirk. Kakashi, however, quickly tempered her enthusiasm. "Hold on. Yes, you can copy techniques, but that doesn't mean you should rely on them entirely," he said firmly. "Why not?" Naruko asked, tilting her head in curiosity. "You shouldn't become overly dependent on your eyes. You need to develop your own skills as well," Kakashi explained seriously. Naruko considered this before responding with determination. "I understand your point, Ni-san. But you've always told me that as shinobi, we operate in a world that isn't fair. My opponents won't hold back against me, so why should I? A shinobi must use every tool at their disposal to succeed. The Sharingan is just that, a tool. I will use it, but I'll also work hard to improve on my own." Kakashi was momentarily at a loss for words. His younger sister had not only understood his lesson but had also countered his argument with solid reasoning. He knew that Naruko would need every advantage she could get. "Alright, I see your point," he admitted. "But before you start learning new techniques, you need to understand the fundamentals of ninjutsu." "What are they?" Naruko asked eagerly. Ninjutsu consists of 3 essential steps. First, you must perform the correct hand seals. Next, you need to gather and mold your chakra. Finally, you combine both steps to execute the technique properly. Each step requires complete focus, Kakashi explained. Naruko nodded, absorbing every word. "Now, the first technique I'll teach you is one of the most basic yet useful ones. It's called Kawarimi no Jutsu," Kakashi continued. "What does it do?" Naruko asked, intrigued. "This technique allows you to replace your body with an object, usually a wooden log, at the exact moment an attack lands. It creates the illusion that the attack was successful, giving you a chance to counter or escape." To demonstrate, Kakashi formed the hand seals and, in an instant, swapped places with a nearby log. Naruko's Sharingan activated instinctively, allowing her to see the process in incredible detail. While others might have missed the rapid hand seals, her enhanced vision captured every movement. She also observed the flow of chakra required to execute the jutsu. "That's an amazing technique, Ni-san," she said, clearly impressed. It is. But before you attempt it, you need to match my speed with your hand seals, Kakashi instructed seriously. Why is speed so important? Naruko asked, puzzled. In battle, your opponent won't give you the time to complete a jutsu. The faster you are, the better your chances of success, Kakashi explained simply. Hee, got it? My bad, Nisan, Naruko said sheepishly, rubbing the back of her head. Kakashi smirked. For someone so confident, you still have a lot to learn, Emoto. Naruko grinned. Huh? Did you say something? She teased. Kakashi's face fell. He realized too late that he had just been outmaneuvered in conversation. His little sister had used his own tactic against him. If Guy ever hears about this, I'll never live it down, Kakashi thought with mild dread. Meanwhile, Naruko burst into laughter, delighted at having outwitted him. Ha! Got you, Nisan, she thought smugly. For that, no ramen for a week. And you'll practice your hand seals while I supervise, Kakashi declared with a mischievous chuckle. No! Naruko cried dramatically. Now, dodge! Kakashi suddenly called out, launching 5 shuriken toward her. Naruko swiftly dodged, only to see a dozen more flying her way at incredible speed. Oh, she thought, quickly forming the necessary seals. Just in time, she executed Kaworimi no Jutsu, replacing herself with a log. That was close, she sighed in relief. Not bad, Kakashi chuckled. But next time, try anticipating my attacks instead of reacting to them. A little warning would be nice, you know, Naruko grumbled. I'll think about it, Kakashi said teasingly. Now that you've got the hang of this jutsu, let's move on to the next one. Keep your Sharingan activated. Naruko hesitated for a moment. Nisan, while the Sharingan helps me learn, I want to challenge myself to improve faster on my own. Do you have a technique that can help with that? Kakashi's eyes narrowed in thought. Actually, there is one. With your chakra reserves and control, you should be able to pull it off. This technique allows you to learn a jutsu 10 times faster. Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. What is it? Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Kakashi said with a knowing smirk, fully aware of how useful this technique would be for her. Kage Bunshin? Naruko repeated, intrigued. It's a B-rank technique, usually reserved for jounin or those with exceptionally high chakra levels. But you should be able to handle it. First, deactivate your Sharingan, Kakashi instructed. Naruko nodded and did as he said. So, what exactly does this jutsu do? She asked, brimming with curiosity. This technique is similar to the standard clone technique, but with a significant difference: it creates real, tangible copies instead of mere illusions. The user's chakra is evenly distributed among each clone, granting them an equal fraction of the original's overall power. These clones can perform techniques independently and even sustain damage, though they usually disperse after receiving a strong enough blow. Unlike regular clones, shadow clones are indistinguishable from the original, as they possess the same amount of chakra and are not made from any external material. A unique trait of this technique is that any knowledge or experience gained by the clones is transferred back to the user upon dispersal. This makes it particularly useful for reconnaissance, as the user can send a clone to gather information and then have it dispel itself, instantly relaying everything it learned. The technique is also highly effective for training. Since the user gains the accumulated experience of all clones, training time can be significantly reduced. For instance, if someone creates one shadow clone and trains alongside it for an hour, once the clone is dispelled, the user retains 2 hours worth of training experience. Kakashi explained this in detail, his voice steady and instructive. Naruko was practically bouncing with excitement at the prospect of learning such an incredible jutsu. This was easily one of the most useful techniques she had come across. Teach me now, she demanded, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. Kakashi chuckled at her eagerness. He understood why she was so excited. After all, The shadow clone technique was one of the most advanced and beneficial forms of ninjutsu. Alright, watch carefully, he instructed. With a simple sequence of hand seals, he instantly created two identical copies of himself. As you can see, these clones are real and capable of doing anything I can, both clones said in perfect unison. To demonstrate, they effortlessly climbed a nearby tree, proving their authenticity. Wow! I'm trying it too, Naruko declared, quickly forming the hand seals. Wait, Kakashi started, but it was already too late. A cloud of smoke erupted around her, and as it cleared, Kakashi found himself surrounded by 50 identical Naruko clones, all smirking confidently behind their masks. Yo! They all greeted in unison. Kakashi blinked in surprise before shaking his head in amazement. I knew you could do it, but 50 clones at your age? That's incredible. Are you feeling alright? He asked, concerned. I'm fine, Naruko assured him, though she could feel the toll the technique had taken on her chakra reserves. I see. This technique is classified as forbidden for a reason. If not for your naturally high chakra levels and, well, your unique circumstances, this could have been dangerous. You need to be careful when using it, Kakashi cautioned, his tone serious. Naruko grinned. You worry too much, Ni-san. But don't worry, I'll be careful. Kakashi sighed but smiled. Good. That's exactly what I expect from you. Naruko glanced at her numerous clones. So, what should I do with them? Kakashi thought for a moment as the clones chatted among themselves, waiting for instructions. Then, an idea struck him. This is the perfect opportunity to find out your elemental affinity, he mused, pulling out a small slip of paper. What's this? Naruko asked curiously, taking it from him. This is a chakra paper. But before we use it, let's see if you remember something. Tell me the 5 basic chakra natures and their significance in ninjutsu, Kakashi tested. Naruko nodded and confidently answered, there are 5 fundamental nature transformations, known as the 5 elements nature transformation, Godaishi Shitsu Henka. These 5 elements form the foundation of all elemental ninjutsu and are even the basis for the names of the 5 great shinobi countries. They exist in a cycle, with each one being strong against one and weak against another. The 5 elements are fire, water, wind, earth, and lightning. Kakashi smiled proudly. Well said. I've trained you well. Naruko beamed at the praise. Every shinobi has a natural affinity toward one of these elements, which is often inherited within clans. For example, most members of the Uzumaki clan had a natural talent for water-style ninjutsu. They were so skilled that even the second Hokage, who was considered the strongest water-style user of his time, acknowledged their abilities. He could create water from the moisture in the air itself. That's amazing. But what happens if someone doesn't have an affinity for a certain element? Naruko asked, intrigued. Kakashi explained, it's not impossible to learn techniques outside your affinity, but it's much harder and requires a lot more chakra. The effectiveness of such jutsu is also usually lower than for someone whose chakra naturally aligns with that element. Naruko's excitement grew. So, how do I find out my element? The paper in your hands is known as a chakra paper, a special type of paper crafted from trees that are nourished with chakra. These unique papers react even to the faintest trace of chakra, displaying different responses based on the user's elemental affinity. If your affinity is fire, the paper will ignite. If it is water, it will become damp. If it is earth, it will crumble. If it is wind, it will split apart. And if your affinity is lightning, it will wrinkle. Now, channel your chakra into the paper and let's see what nature you possess, Kakashi explained seriously. With focused determination, Naruko directed her chakra into the paper, and the results were astonishing. Initially, the paper became damp, then split in half. Before it could touch the ground, one half burned to ash while the other half wrinkled. Kakashi's eyes widened in surprise. He had expected Naruko to have at most 2 affinities, but instead, she displayed 4 natural elemental natures. That shouldn't be possible, Kakashi thought in disbelief. Interesting, Naruko said with a proud smirk. Ni-san, how do I have 4 affinities? She asked, curiosity shining in her eyes, pulling Kakashi from his thoughts. I believe it's because of who you are, Naruko, Kakashi replied honestly. What do you mean? She questioned, tilting her head in confusion. It appears that your strongest affinity is water, followed closely by wind. Since the paper became damp first, it indicates a strong water affinity. Your abilities also include fire and lightning. The reason you have these specific affinities likely ties back to your lineage. The Uzumaki clan was known for being the most proficient water-style users in the world, which explains why water is your primary affinity. Your fire affinity may stem from the Uchiha bloodline, as fire was their signature element. Your father possessed an affinity for lightning, much like I do, which you inherited from him. As for wind, I believe that is an affinity unique to you, Kakashi suggested. That makes sense, Ni-san. But what was my father like? Naruko asked eagerly. Your father was one of the most skilled and formidable shinobi of his time. He was also highly intelligent and deeply compassionate, always putting his friends and village before himself, Kakashi explained, carefully omitting any sensitive details about Minato's abilities. Thank you for telling me, Ni-san. But does that mean I won't be able to use Earth-style techniques at all? She asked hopefully. You might not be naturally proficient in Earth release, but with dedication and training, you could still perform Earth-style techniques at a competent level, Kakashi said honestly. Naruko nodded, satisfied with the explanation. Now, since water is your strongest affinity, I will teach you a water-style technique. It's called Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, the water clone technique. It is similar to the shadow clone technique, but instead of creating clones with substantial physical form, these clones are made from water and possess only a fraction of the original strength. They can be used for tasks you may not want or need to do yourself. However, the clones have a limited range and cannot travel too far from the original without dispersing. Like other clone techniques, if they take enough damage, they will revert back into water. Normally, this jutsu requires a nearby water source, but I believe you will be able to perform it regardless, Kakashi explained before demonstrating the necessary hand seals. Naruko formed the tiger seal, and within moments, 3 identical water clones materialized beside her. As I suspected, Kakashi said, nodding in approval. You are able to draw moisture from the air and convert it into water, much like the second Hokage. While you are not yet at his level of water manipulation, with a few years of training, you could reach incredible heights. You truly embody the strength of the Uzumaki clan. Naruko bowed slightly, showing her appreciation. Ni-san, what rank is this jutsu? She asked curiously. It's a C-rank technique. Your ability to perform it so effortlessly is impressive, but never let your power make you overconfident, Naruko. Arrogance has been the downfall of many shinobi, Kakashi warned sternly. Naruko nodded seriously. I understand, Ni-san. I won't let it get to my head. A moment later, her curiosity reignited. Ni-san, what's your chakra affinity? She asked excitedly. My primary affinity is lightning, but I also have water as my secondary element. I also possess some knowledge of fire and earth jutsu. However, I only know 4 wind-based techniques, Kakashi explained concisely. That's amazing, Ni-san. Can you teach me more jutsu? Naruko asked eagerly, excited by the prospect of expanding her skills. Yes, today I'll be teaching you 3 new jutsu. But first, I need you to divide your shadow clones into 2 equal groups. Each group will be supervised by one of my clones, who will instruct them in a new technique. Make sure they activate their Sharingan, it will help them sustain it longer and accelerate their learning process. Meanwhile, you and I will focus on meditation, Kakashi instructed. Why do I need to meditate, Ni-san? Naruko asked with a puzzled expression. Meditation will improve your concentration, enhance your chakra control, and make you more aware of your surroundings. Additionally, there's something I'd like to confirm, Kakashi said thoughtfully. I really hope I'm right about this, he mused internally. Naruko nodded and divided her clones into two groups. Each group followed one of Kakashi's clones to begin their respective training. She then sat cross-legged, closing her eyes and focusing. Initially, nothing seemed to happen, but after a few minutes of deep concentration, she began to notice subtle changes. She could hear the distant rustling of animals in the forest, the gentle flow of a nearby river, and, most surprisingly, she could sense Kakashi's chakra signature. Ni-san, why can I feel your chakra? Naruko asked, confused. As I expected, Kakashi thought with a small smile. You're able to sense my chakra because you have a natural ability known as sensory perception, he said proudly. A sensory ability? Naruko repeated curiously. Let me explain. Many members of the Uzumaki clan were highly skilled sensors, so I had a feeling you might have inherited this trait as well. A sensory ninja, also known as a sensor, has the ability to detect the presence of others by sensing their chakra. A skilled sensor can pinpoint individuals from great distances and even distinguish people based on their unique chakra signature. Some can even tell when other sensors are actively using their abilities, Kakashi explained. That sounds incredible. Can you teach me how to use my sensory abilities properly? Naruko asked excitedly. Of course. While I'm not a dedicated sensor, I do have the ability to detect chakra signatures and possess an enhanced sense of smell. I'll share what I know, Kakashi agreed, beginning his lesson. Meanwhile, with Shadow Clone Group 1. In a clearing, 25 of Naruko's shadow clones stood in formation, facing one of Kakashi's clones. Several training dummies were positioned around them, ready for practice. The clones eagerly awaited instruction. What jutsu are we learning? One of Naruko's clones asked loudly. This technique is called Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu, also known as Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu. It is a highly regarded technique within the Uchiha clan and is classified as a C-rank offensive ninjutsu. This jutsu involves molding chakra inside the body, converting it into fire, and expelling it from the mouth in the form of a large, roaring fireball or a continuous stream of flames. The range and intensity of the attack depend on the amount of chakra used. When executed correctly, the flames will engulf their target and can even leave a crater in the ground, Kakashi's clone explained. That sounds awesome. How do we do it? Another clone asked eagerly. Watch carefully, Kakashi's clone instructed. I'll demonstrate the jutsu, and you'll analyze it using your Sharingan. Forming the necessary hand seals, Kakashi's clone took a deep breath and then released a massive fireball. The blazing sphere raced forward at high speed, incinerating everything in its path before crashing into a training dummy with a loud whoosh, leaving behind only charred remains. The clones were mesmerized by the demonstration. Without hesitation, they began mimicking the technique, determined to master it. Meanwhile, with Shadow Clones Group 2. The technique you will be learning is called Suten, Mizurappa, Water Style, Raging Water Wave, explained Kakashi's clone in a straightforward manner. What does it do? One of Naruko's clones asked, looking puzzled. This technique allows the user to release a powerful stream of water from their mouth, similar to a rushing waterfall, which can sweep away an opponent. The strength of the attack depends on the amount of chakra used. Since it has multiple variations, it serves as a fundamental water release technique and is classified as a C-rank offensive jutsu, the Kakashi clone explained. Demonstrating the technique, he formed the dragon, tiger, and hare hand seals before expelling a steady stream of water toward a nearby tree. The water forcefully struck the trunk, leaving a noticeable dent in its surface. Alright, now that you've copied the jutsu, begin practicing, instructed the Kakashi clone. Understood. All of Naruko's clones responded in unison before eagerly starting their training. A few hours later. It had been an intense day of training for Naruko. She was completely drained, having received the memories, and the exhaustion, of her shadow clones. Throughout the day, she had also picked up some sensory techniques from Kakashi during their meditation exercises. Watching her progress, Kakashi couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Naruko's rapid learning ability, combined with her immense stamina, was truly impressive. He decided it was time to test the techniques she had worked so hard to master. "Naruko, do you think you can perform the jutsu your clones have been practicing?" Kakashi asked seriously. "Yeah, I can do it," Naruko replied, panting heavily. She's completely exhausted, yet she refuses to give up. Kakashi thought with admiration. Summoning her remaining strength, Naruko formed the necessary hand seals and unleashed the first technique she had learned. Suten, Mijirappa. Water style, wild water wave. A powerful surge of water erupted from Naruko's mouth, flooding the clearing and crashing against everything in its path with a resounding roar. She has an incredible affinity for water jutsu. She may even surpass Naidime-sama one day, Kakashi mused, astonished by the sheer force of the technique. Of course, the Sharingan and Shadow clones had helped her learning process, but mastering a C-rank jutsu in just a few hours at her age was nothing short of extraordinary. Without waiting for a reaction, Naruko moved on to her next jutsu. She formed another sequence of hand seals, gathering chakra before exhaling a fiery blast. Katen, Gokaku no Jutsu. Fire style, Fireball Jutsu. A bright fireball, roughly the size of a large windmill shuriken, shot forward, colliding with a nearby tree and leaving scorch marks across its surface. Excellent work, Naruko. Your Suten Jutsu is already well executed, and your Katen Jutsu is promising, it just needs a bit more refinement. But with more training, I have no doubt you'll master it in no time, Kakashi praised her. Thanks. Pant. Ni-san, Naruko replied, her exhaustion evident. Oh? Looks like even your stamina has its limits, Kakashi teased. Naruko pouted, glaring at him playfully, which only made Kakashi chuckle. Tell you what, I'll teach you one last jutsu for the day. It's an E-rank technique, meaning it doesn't require much chakra. If you can pull it off, I'll treat you to Ichiraku ramen, Kakashi added with a smirk. You're on, Ni-san. Naruko shouted, her exhaustion vanishing in an instant. Anything for ramen. She thought gleefully, already picturing the endless bowls she would devour. Kakashi internally sighed. Why did I say that? Where does she get all this energy? With a playful glint in his eye, he continued, all right, this technique is called Henge no Jutsu, Transformation Jutsu. It allows a ninja to take on the appearance of another person, an animal, or even an object. Skilled users can create flawless transformations that are indistinguishable from the real thing, while beginners might struggle with noticeable inconsistencies. To demonstrate, Kakashi quickly formed the hand seals and transformed into a tired-looking Naruko, her face slack with exhaustion and her eyes half-lidded in a silly expression. Hey, got you. Kakashi thought smugly. Naruko, however, activated her Sharingan, studying his chakra flow intently. Then, with a mischievous smirk, she prepared her own transformation, deciding to give Kakashi a taste of his own medicine. In an instant, where Naruko once stood, there was now a tall blonde woman with striking blue eyes, long silky hair cascading down her back, and an elegant yet confident posture. Henge no Jutsu. Kakashi blinked in surprise. That's actually a really good transformation. Before he could comment, Naruko's form shifted again into a slightly exaggerated version of an attractive older girl, striking a confident pose. The next thing Kakashi knew, he had stumbled backward into a tree, momentarily stunned. Naruko grinned victoriously before finally succumbing to chakra exhaustion, collapsing onto the ground with a satisfied smile. A few minutes later, Kakashi regained his composure and chuckled to himself. She got me good. I need to be more careful around her, he thought with amusement. Walking over, he picked up Naruko, who was now sleeping peacefully. As he carried her back home, he reflected on her progress. She managed to learn multiple jutsu in just one day, and master almost all of them. Minato-sensei, you would be so proud of her. A thoughtful expression crossed his face. I wonder how she would fare with genjutsu. If she can master it alongside her current skills, she'll be a force to be reckoned with in the future. Little did Kakashi know, this day marked the beginning of Naruko's journey as a prodigy of the Sharingan, one who would shape the very fate of the world. Dear YouTube family, that's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world. Thank you, and see you in the next adventure. Anime Dreams.